morning, and thank you so much for joining us. It is 7:45. We're getting ready for After GMS, our very special show where we like to connect with you on Facebook. So let us know how you're feeling today on this Tuesday, and we will start with a forecast. Taran Kirksey, it's a little too cold for May.
It's too cold for me too. Temperatures out there right now in the 30s and low 40s across the entire area. We'll warm up a little bit, but it's still a fairly cool afternoon by May standards with high temperatures today in the mid 60s. We will see a mix of sun and clouds as we go through the day. The cloud cover will thicken up some more overnight on into Wednesday. Can't rule out a couple sprinkles tonight. Can't even rule out a sprinkle or two tomorrow, but the chance of rain at your house less than 20%. Temperatures tomorrow still in the mid 60s. And then after that, we will see a big time warming trend as we head towards the weekend. Highs in the 70s on Thursday, low to mid 80s Friday. And we're looking at mid to possibly even upper 80s across a good chunk of the area as we head through the weekend. Small chance of an isolated shower Saturday, better chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm for that matter as we go from Sunday on into Monday. That's a quick look at your 7-day forecast.
Okay, now let's get right to our first conversation for today. So a California doctor was surprised when he got onto a United Airlines flight from New York to San Francisco Saturday to see every seat filled. Dr. Ethan Weiss posted this picture to Twitter saying, I guess United is relaxing their social distancing policy these days. Every seat full on this 737. He also said, this is the last time I'll be flying again for a very long time. He went on to say that he was traveling with a group of 25 doctors and nurses who were headed home after working in New York City for the past 2 to 4 weeks. He said on board this flight Saturday, people were shocked and scared. Weiss tweeted a statement United Airlines sent to him. It says in part, starting next week, we will allow customers on flights that are expected to be closer to full capacity to choose to rebook on a different flight or receive travel credit. In response, Weiss tweeted, to me, this story has been entirely about matching expectations with reality, and this new policy addresses that issue head on. Nobody is going to make any activity 100% safe, but I applaud United for making this process more transparent and clear, end quote. So our question for you today is, do you feel comfortable flying right now? You can let us know in the comments. I feel like it would depend on the situation. For example, my brother's wedding is coming up. No matter what happens, they are getting married that day. I've mentioned that before. It is in Arkansas. Family will be going no matter what. It's just a matter of if they're going to knock down the list a little bit, the guest list. So I will be there. I'm still trying to debate, though. Am I going to fly or am I going to drive? It is a 13-hour drive. That is a long drive. So as of right now, probably going to fly, but I will be doing all the social distancing I can. I'm going to have my Germ-X on hand, and again, I guess I'll reevaluate when it gets a little bit closer. What about you guys?
Well, some airlines have said that they're going to provide sanitizer and wipes so that people can individually wipe down their seats and their areas, and some other flights, or I should say airline companies, have said that they are going to also do strict disinfecting and follow the CDC guidelines. So, I mean, they're definitely putting, fears at ease in terms of, getting the germs away. But I still don't feel comfortable flying just yet, but I'm sure I will. I'm going to be ready to go on vacation at some point. Just not yet, but it's coming. All right, so Ed Matthews, we'll start with you. How comfortable do you feel flying, or when do you think you'll do it again?
Well, very uncomfortable at this point. If I did feel comfortable, I'd be in Key West in a couple of weeks. That trip has been canceled. I'm not going to feel comfortable for a while, but I'm like you, Tracy. At some point, I got to get on the big bird and go on a nice, relaxing vacation. And in this type of situation, I say to each his own. I mean, this is one of those things where I got to pull out the personal responsibility card this morning and play that. If you feel comfortable getting on a plane, go ahead and do it. I mean, it's your life. You've got the choice.
All right, so that is definitely a great opinion. Ed, thank you. Taran, what's your weigh in on this?
Well, as long as the airlines do what they can to, I guess, lessen the risk as much as they can, I lean towards what Ed is saying as well. Obviously, take all precautions that you need to take, but if you feel like it's safe for you and the airline is doing their part to keep things safe as well, then that's kind of on you.
Yeah, all right. So, Megan, before we get to your comment here, our producer wants us to show this picture again so that people have a better understanding of what it was like on this United Airlines flight the other day. Again, this is a tweet from Ethan Weiss, who says that this was the situation, a full capacity flight aboard this 737. All right, Megan, are you planning on flying anytime soon?
I'm not sure. I'm going to evaluate like Stacey is when it gets closer to the time of my planned trip, but it's really interesting to see that picture because we've also heard of the opposite extreme happening. I was talking to my cousin yesterday who took a flight to Arkansas to see her husband. They're both doctors and they live in separate states right now finishing up residency programs, and she said there were 6 people on her entire flight. So I think it depends on where you're flying, and in some regard the airplanes themselves are probably the cleanest they've ever been from a wiping down standpoint. We know airlines have taken extra precaution, wiping down tray tables, seats, seat belts, buckles, everything that they maybe wouldn't have had time to do before in between those quick flight changes. But then you have these people in a limited or confined space breathing recirculated air, and we know how quickly and how contagious this virus is and can spread. So you really need to evaluate, okay, where are you going? Is it a necessity? How are you going to protect yourself and the passengers around you? But ultimately, these airlines are going to get back to normal and they're going to start resuming flying and people are going to start traveling. So you need to make your own decisions and use your own discretion.
I don't know about you, but every time I board a flight, I get sick. I mean, literally, I don't know what it is. Like I get a cold or my throat gets scratchy or my ears, you could say it's the air pressure, but seriously, like I get like an ear infection after getting off a plane. I don't know what it is. So if I'm easily susceptible to those things, imagine, my risk to COVID-19. So I guess I'll play it safe here. So let's get to some of the comments. Sharia says, I'm not feeling it yet, not safe. Diaria says, I think that they should take everyone's temperatures as well. That could be definitely something that they would have to do. Michelle says, not going to fly. And Lynetta says, not comfortable flying yet. Kenny, somebody wants to know, why not fly? Come on, Ed.
Yeah, I'm writing a comment for him right now.
Okay. Awesome. All right, stand by for that. In the meanwhile, let's get to your morning headlines here. Megan, start us off.
All right, yeah, it is 7:52 right now. Let's take a look at your morning headlines. Some unfortunate news to get to here. An 18-year-old is hospitalized in critical condition this morning after a shooting in Winston-Salem last night. Police say this happened around 8:30 on Caledonia Drive. Authorities say they found Malika Knight there unresponsive and took him to the hospital. Police say this appears to be an isolated situation. So far, there are no arrests, though. If you know anything, call the police department or leave an anonymous tip with the Winston-Salem Crime Stoppers line. A couple of COVID-19 related headlines now. The state confirms 281 more positive cases yesterday, bringing the total to more than 15,000 here in North Carolina since the pandemic started. That number does include people who have already recovered, to be clear. And of the nearly 200,000 tests conducted so far, just more than 7.5% are positive. Remember, as testing sites test more people, they can confirm more cases, even the mild ones. 464 people are currently in the hospital at last check. 550 North Carolinians have died. And today at 2 o'clock, Governor Roy Cooper and the task force will give an update. You can find that on WFMY News 2 on air and online.
The Four Seasons Town Center reopens today with some new policies in place to protect shoppers. WFMY News 2's Candace Red has more on the changes before the doors open.
Four Seasons Town Center has been closed since March due to the statewide stay-at-home order. Giving you a look behind me, you can see orange cones are up and there's a white sign that reads closed, open Tuesday. Now that we are in phase 1 of the state's reopening plan, the mall is preparing to reopen today at 11 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. That's the standard mall hours Monday through Saturday. On Sundays, the mall will open from noon to 6 p.m. p.m. The mall has implemented new measures to ensure the health and safety of shoppers and workers. That includes hand sanitizing stations, touch-free interactions, frequent and intense cleanings, and social distancing directions. Now, some amenities at the mall will be unavailable until further notice. That includes valet services, play areas, stroller rentals, and mall-operated carousels. Now, under Governor Roy Cooper's statewide dining restriction, the mall's food court seating area will also remain closed. Restaurants and the food court will be available, however, for carry-out only. And the Four Seasons Town Center released a statement in part saying, quote, "The safety and well-being of our retail partners and shoppers is of the utmost importance. As our centers prepare for this new normal, we are thankful for the opportunity to reopen our doors and look forward to welcoming guests back into our properties," end quote. Well, we do know that mall employees and vendors will be wearing face masks and gloves in common areas to help flatten the curve. But for more information on this story and how Four Seasons Town Center is working to reopen, all you have to do is visit our website. That's WFMYnews2.com.
Well, a Greensboro nonprofit is making changes to its food giveaways. Out of the Garden Project says it will no longer host giveaways on Mondays, but will continue to do them 3 times a week. You can catch them Tuesdays from noon to 1 at Mount Zion Baptist Church on Alamance Church Road in Greensboro, and on Wednesdays and Fridays from 11 to noon at Daystar Church in Greensboro. Well, if you want to get your stimulus check deposited straight into your bank account, you have until noon tomorrow to get that direct deposit information in. Now, if you miss the deadline, you will still get your stimulus payment, but it will be a paper check through the mail. The IRS says it could take until September to mail out every paper check to you. All right, let's get to our next conversation this morning. 3 Senate Democrats have introduced a plan for Americans to get $2,000 a month until this COVID-19 crisis ends. We want to know if you think this would be enough to help Americans. So let's get to some background here. Lawmakers say the initial $1,200 stimulus check that many of you have already received is not enough for families to pay for rent, put food on the table, and make ends meet. Now, under this plan, Americans who earn less than $120,000 a year would receive a monthly $2,000 coronavirus stimulus check. Married couples would receive $4,000, and an extra $2,000 would be provided for each child up to 3. Now, the monthly checks would continue until 3 months after the Health and Human Services Department declares the public health emergency over. So this morning, the question is, do you think that's enough? But I think it might be more appropriate, since no one knows what each other's struggle is, not to say how much is enough, but whether it will help American families. And I think that should be our priority this morning. So I'm changing the question on the fly here. It's not going to be, do you think it's enough? It's going to be, how do you think it will help, and will it help? So Ed Matthews, we'll start with you.
Well, I think every little bit will help, but I think the idea of safely getting people back to work is probably the more important priority. Get back to work, start making that paycheck again. But, you know, different people in our society have different needs. Some people are not hurting so much, while others are hurting quite a bit during this pandemic financially. So I think the big thing is to get people back to work as soon as it's safe.
Yeah, and people want to go back to work.
Yeah.
All right, Taran, we know that this stimulus check is something that they are considering. Will it help, or will it destroy the economy? As one viewer wrote, Susan said, "I say it will destroy the economy even more."
Well, it certainly is a lot of money, and obviously, as we know, if you keep up with the deficit, it's been increasing more and more and more over the past 15 years or so. But you know, there are people that are in desperate need. The issue is, how can we figure out who needs the money the most, and how can we get that to them if they do need it? But as Ed said, I mean, the ideal situation is to get everyone back to work and to get things going again as soon as it's safe.
Yeah, Carnita just wrote on our Facebook live stream here. She says, would rather work. And Carnita also says, we'll just owe it later. And those are things to consider too with this package, Megan.
Yeah, and keep in mind with this first round of stimulus checks, you will not owe that back because it is considered just that gift from the federal government. You will not be affected by it on your taxes next year. You won't be bumped to the next tax bracket. So don't worry about that. As far as future bills and future stimulus checks, yeah, that is obviously up for discussion as Congress considers these bills. Obviously, the priority, I think, right now in Washington and in individual states is getting people back to work as quickly and as safely as possible. Of course, there are families who really, really need money to get them by and to feed their children, to put food on the table. I cannot even imagine what that is like. So that's not for me to say that they should or should not get these stimulus checks. But I wonder if going forward, if Congress will require some stipulation in receiving this money that perhaps like unemployment benefits, you would need to prove that you have actively worked to try to find employment, try to find a job. And these are the circumstances why you have not been successful as of yet. So I think we're going to see this, but as far as this bill passing as it is now, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, and Stacey, you found this story for us earlier on the Good Morning Show. What are your feelings about this stimulus, $2,000 per month?
Well, I think regardless of your opinion, I think that we can all agree that there are people out there struggling, people that have lost their jobs, that are on furlough. I have a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, that's been on furlough since it was the end of February. It's hard. I know she's not the only one worried about what life is going to be like in the next couple of months. And if there's any way we can help them, I hope that we do that. And it's just a hard thing to talk about when you're deciding who should get it, who doesn't need it, how much the amount should be. I just hope that there is a way that we can help those people, whether it's to get them back to work or to give them money.
Yeah, and the conversation online has now focused on essential workers and maybe focusing on them. Essential, so that could be people who are still working at grocery stores, or your doctors or your nurses, or those who are working at meat processing plants, those companies that have to stay open right now, and maybe focusing on them, giving them extra money. And so some people think that, while others are saying their concern is that the government will cut some pay for the payouts in Social Security or Medicare eventually down the line. So, you know, there's definitely different opinions about this. My strong encouragement is that if you have an opinion on this and you need that extra money, or maybe you don't, you need to let our local officials know. You need to write into your senators, your Congress folks, because they are the ones who are representing us, and they might have one idea of what you're feeling when really it's another. So we won't really have a good basis of whether this is a good thing or a bad thing until, you know, our representatives hear from us. So, you know, it has to start with that base level of just communication and seeing, you know, where we can go from here. I just want this to be over with. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just ready for it to be over with. Not necessarily to return to normal, because I don't even know what that is, but I just want it to be over, you know? So, all right, I'm gonna start going on to another rant here. So it's 8:03. Instead of a rant, Ed Matthews, give us a forecast.
Okay, we've got some extra clouds today and tomorrow. That'll hold temperatures in the cooler mid-60s, but hang in there, everybody, because the warm-up begins on Thursday. Sun and clouds in upper 70s, low 80s by Friday. The weekend is going to feel just like summer. I think we're pretty deserving. Look at high temperatures, possibly mid and even upper 80s. By Sunday and Monday, maybe a pop-up thunderstorm due primarily just to the heating of the afternoon, but no widespread rain events headed our way anytime soon.
Well, I think that, Ed, you and Taran should do the newscast tomorrow just by yourselves.
Oh, no.
Yes, because then it could just be all about weather and sunshine.
Hey, you know that Taran and I could cover and fill all of that time, the complete Good Morning Show, nothing but weather. Oh, yeah.
Because that's what people are going to be smiling about in the next few days. You know, Stacey, me, and Megan, we all just bring that sad stuff. So, I mean, we need to smile every now and then. All right, it is just about 8:05 here on the Good Morning Show. Thank you so much for sharing your part of your Tuesday morning with us, and we'll be right back here tomorrow at 7:45 for After GMS. Take care, everybody, and stay safe.